Wiyi Yani U Thangani work, I think, has been a really important part of a conversation amongst Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander women in this country over the past couple of years. It's been really impressive to hear from so many women and their insights about the lived experience of being an Indigenous woman in this country. What are some of the greatest challenges, but also our successes in our community and more broadly as a nation.
I think this is a very pivotal point in time for First Nations women in the history of this country. 900 plus First Nations women alongside of women of influence in government, in the corporate sector, in agencies across the country that do make decisions about matters that impact the lives of First Nations women and girls and their families and their communities.
This is the first time we're going to have like over 900 First Nation women and girls and key stakeholders all in that same venue, and just the opportunity to connect with everyone.
I've never been to a summit that has just been for women, so that's been completely different to anything I've attended in the past. And yeah, it's just been incredible. I've just never been in an atmosphere that has been so strong and powerful and women-led before.
For me, it's about giving voice to women who have always been marginalised, First Nations women who are further marginalised, language and culture and country and connection and children and babies and all of those things that are, women's business, those things that are important to us.
Yeah. What the summit means to me is about doing things that's just and right. First Nations women here in Australia we aren't accessing our basic human rights. And so it's going back to exactly that and starting right there.
Every part of what we do is geared towards ensuring that subsequent generations don't experience the same sorts of things that we have, that we are leaving our world in a better place than we found it. And so those impacts have been detrimental. That's difficult to live with. But it's also built a fire and developed a fire in many of us. And the idea of all of that fire coming together over the next few days it's really quite exciting and very, very energising.
So obviously the conference and the summit is so amazing, but what are the actions and those next steps going to be once Thursday wraps up? Like, what do we want from this?
As First Nations women, there isn't a part of our lives that are not touched by the concept of gender justice. It's what we live and we breathe every day. The impacts of the things that have been done to us over time are ever present in our lives.
Just removing those barriers, not just for our kids, but also like our women and them leadership positions, making sure that, we're breaking down those barriers.
My daughter and my sisters, it's really important that, change happens soon for the next generations.
There's a cultural obligation there, but as a woman as well, if I take out my identity to ensure that I live freely and safely is the most important thing, right? So this movement is about that, and the Institute as well, the First Nations Gender Justice Institute, is also about that as well, just paving the path for a more secure life and world, especially in this country.
This moment right now, me standing here, is so important for now and the future. One, in acknowledging the leadership that's been paved, the path that's been paved by our leaders that are still here and not here, but that we stand on the shoulders of giants. And so it's really important for me as a young person to understand and acknowledge the fight.
One of my favourite quotes is this: "May we be people that plant seeds which grow trees in whose shade we may never sit under." And when I think about this summit, and when I think about what these women are doing, and the seeds that they're planting and the trees that they're helping nurture to grow, they're not just going to influence our generation, but 7 generations into the future. And so when I think about the work that they're doing, this is imperative work. And so I'm really excited to see, I guess, the legacy effects of what this is going to do for Black women all over this nation, and how it's going to continue to inspire and empower Black liberation, our sovereignty as First Nations women, and how we're just unstoppable. We're going to keep firing forward.
Seeing 100+ young women in the room, vibing off each other's energy, drawing strength from each other, realising and acknowledging their strength that they all bring with them from their communities, their families, their mothers, their nannies. That is such power that when they walk in that door, when they sit together, when they draw from each other's strength, that is what I'm looking forward to the most. It's the thing that will give me goosebumps. But when you're seeing it and you can listen to it and you can hear it, it's gonna be epic.
As a mum, my main concern is making sure that our kids don't have to go through the struggles that not only ourselves but all of our, my mum, my grandmother, our ancestors before us have had to go through.
I know that this actually is going to take a long time to actually get change. It's going to be a while. I'm probably going to be in my 40s or something, and then we'll have children, possibly daughters, who I will proudly say that I advocated for them to live freely like this. And that's probably my biggest takeaway, I think.
When we listen to First Nations young women, they bring with them this unfiltered view, an unfiltered, untapped view of the world and what it could, should, and has the potential to be. So often, these moments in time, they enable us to think about, 1, where we have come from, but 2, where we're going. And being able to draw strength from each other, to know that what we are planning for in the future has the potential to become such powerful realities.
Well, I hope that this is a beginning point to the future years of strengthening our presence, strengthening the voices of our women and girls, and creating strong leaders for the continued advocacy and change makers that we really need to see leading.
We will no longer stand for being marginalised or excluded. This is what our future looks like, and it's about inclusion and opportunity. And for me, this is a real energising of Indigenous women owning their space, claiming their power.
It's going to add fuel to the flame that I already have in my belly. And I think what it's also going to do is, when I go back home, it's going to be this wildfire that I take back home and show and share with the family back in community about the warrior spirit women that we have.
It's been talked about that it's a gateway to move forward, and I think that that's a very important part, to have the youth be as confident and included in these conversations to help continue and move forward.
So this is it's a huge event. It's a really important part of what comes next for First Nations women and girls in this country.
Where do we fit? How do we exercise our rights? How do we exercise the things that are natural within us as really strong, matriarchal black women? That is what this work represents. It represents strength.
Rise up, break the cage, be the lion, be the storm, be the strike of the lightning. Rise with the dawn, praise like the sun. This is what we came for. Revolution.
I would like to see Indigenous women and girls stay strong, maintain hope. We are powerful and we are more powerful together.